Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's out to Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and ponder getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
X-ray season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that, hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it
I hate
for
these
us.
average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my own flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your penny line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I'm probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Grand Rising, everyone. Happy Wednesday to all of you out there. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we have another great show for you today. Midweek and feeling good already. Got to bring it to my guy, Big O. What up, Big O?
Good morning, Trey Holiday.
Hey, we're side by side again. I get to do my tap over.
Man, I'm happy we got a desk again.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? This was a big deal to get back to an actual desk.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're adjusting lighting here. Things are coming along. We're working on the set. We thought we were going to have all the ads, you know, adjusted. So you guys, so whoever's watching with that stereo surround sound at the crib, just letting you know, we got one more day and we'll have our audio adjustment. But hey, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Morning Update Show and remind you that right now, yes, right now is a perfect opportunity to tag and share the stream. And let me stop right there. We're hearing, and this actually been going on for a while, that some of the share options for this show have been disabled. So what I need you to do, because we're in touch now with Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, I need you to take a screenshot. If you're trying to actually share this stream and it's not giving you any options to share, screenshot it and email me the screenshot. Omari@whereweconverge.com. Email me the screenshot to where you're not able to share the stream, because you know we want everybody to tag and share the stream, and we want to be able to take that back over to Facebook and show them like, yo, some people aren't able to share our stream. That being said, let me move forward. I want to give a big shout out to our partners over at the South Seattle Emerald and KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. I want to remind everybody that you can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. Right there, they put SoundCloud on the screen, but you can also listen at Google, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. I want to remind everybody, as usual, as well, the vaccine is readily available here in King County. There's a link in the comments right there. If you need to get vaccinated, you can click the link. You can find a location. You can schedule an appointment. In some cases, the vaccination can actually come to you, right? So we're doing something special on Sunday. We've got a limited amount of tickets, but I'm going to go ahead and put this up right now. That's right. Converge at the ballpark this Sunday at the 12th at 1:10 p.m. Go ahead and put that back up one more time, Curtis. That's 1:10 p.m. You can email if you want to attend, if you want to hang out with me and the big fella, Jake Grabbrot, and anybody else here on the staff who's coming along. Just send an email to info@whereweconverge.com. We got great seats in the club level. That's 1:10 p.m. this Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Be our guest over there at T-Mobile Park. Email info@whereweconverge.com while tickets last. Of course, we don't have an unlimited amount, but we would love for you to join us for the ball game on Sunday. Trey, we got a great guest today. Yeah. We've got Karlos Dillard. We've got a great motion graphic for him somewhere there. We got Karlos. There it is. Great photo of Karlos right there with the city in the background. So author and speaker and advocate. And, Karlos wrote a book called Ward of the State, an experience growing up in foster care. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk to him about his book and then also how people can advocate on behalf of children in foster care. You remember when the pandemic first hit, that was one of the things Jamaica talked about, was like, yo, man, I mean, everybody's going through it, but just remember, a lot of these foster kids in foster homes, they're really going through it. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about some ways that we can advocate for the youngest and most vulnerable in our community, and we can uplift foster children.
You know what? I love that. It's a great message that I'm glad that we're keeping on right here on the Morning Update show. It's important that when we think about the youth, we're talking about all youth, and we understand that there's a really specific way that foster care youth are living, and we want to be sure we uplift that. So I'm glad Karlos is here to give us his insight and to talk more about his book.
Yeah, good stuff. So before we jump into the headlines, I think a good way to start off our shows is what our quote of the day. This, Booker T. Washington said, "A lie doesn't become truth, wrong doesn't become right, and evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by a majority." That sounds like something kind of right up your alley right there, Trey Holiday.
You know what? Come on. It definitely is. And I'm really enjoying these quotes of the day because they remind us of the great things that we get to stand on in terms of how we talk about integrity. We talk about our humanity. We talk about sense of compassion and empathy, right? And I love that he said that. I agree 100%. And you know what? We're dealing with that every single day when we actually press against these status quos and what it seems like has become normal in our society. And when we talk about creating new normals, that's exactly what it is, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I like the quotes of the day too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Set us off nice and right.
We got a lot of people, that said some really great stuff. Yeah. And I mean, what better space than to uplift that than right here on the Morning Update show? All right, so first up today, this is coming to us from the South Seattle Emerald. Black Star farmers collaborate with community at New Holly Market Garden. This South Seattle Emerald, Ronnie SQ. And we've got the link there in the comments. It says here on Saturday the 4th, the Black Star farmers, Marcus Henderson. Man, I met Marcus literally in the shop.
Yeah.
And everybody had their different kind of protests going. His was gardening.
Yeah.
And they put a garden right there in Cal Anderson Park. And since then, they've been kind of gardening all over. They're over there, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love about Marcus and all the folks working at Ujama Food Circle, I mean, there's so many great farming initiatives that have really spawned out of the chop. And there was a lot of folks doing it beforehand, but Marcus has never stopped, man. He's one of those consistent brothers out here in the community that has really been bringing organic food boxes to families all over the county. I was able to receive received one, and let me tell you, I'm still benefiting from that bounty,
Hey,
man.
was the honey in your box?
Yeah, the honey was in my box, man. I got honey, I got sea salt, I got all kind of things I'm still using to this day.
Yeah, no, Marcus, whatchamacallit, the box that I got, I was like, I mean, it kind of forced me to kind of be more. I was like, well, what can I eat this with?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is it's all natural, organic, everything else. Well, they're down there at the new Holly Market Garden and teamed up with an existing group there. The new Holly Garden Market was established in 2005. And, you know, Marcus is basically a collaboration that's going on down there. And the best thing is like, yeah, they're growing stuff, but they're also educating community. They're teaching people how to be sustainable. They're introducing the concept of urban gardening and some of everything else. And yeah, it's really dope. People can read more about that at the South Seattle Emerald.
Nice. Love that effort.
Yeah, no. And then we also got one here from the Seattle Times about homelessness. Seattle homelessness nonprofits struggle to hire, complicating plans to expand shelter and housing. From the Seattle Times, Scott Greenstone. And so basically right here, and we'll put the link in the comments, what they're saying is like there's lots of investment that the people are putting into addressing the issue of homelessness, but the people who actually work are like highly underpaid. And so they give a story here in the article. A woman makes $40,000 a year, $40,000 a year, and a lot of people make even less than that, you know. And actually, she qualified for food stamps, but the requirements for the job in dealing in working with the, you know, with the homeless population and finding solutions for them is so taxing. And what they're saying is like it's very hard to keep people, recruit people, and everything else. And nationally, people that work in these positions are really on the ground working with our unhoused and homeless population are some of the lowest paid nationally. And so it's very difficult to retain them or recruit people. And, you know, right now there's all this talk, we got to build shelters, we got to, you know what I'm saying, ramp up services. And so it very well might present a problem for organizations here and these nonprofits and everything else to actually be able to hire people into these jobs. You know, this is also a very expensive city to live in.
Yeah, I mean, this is a compounding issue. Oh, when we talk about direct investment into homelessness and into those who are unsheltered, ultimately, we have to be thinking about it from a ground up approach. And I think that that's one of the things that, you know, has not been happening necessarily when we're talking about the workers who are really on the ground, you know, going to tent encampments and connecting with those who are unhoused right now. That is very specific kind of work, and it takes a real sense of passion to come from those employees that, you know, they deserve to have livable wage incomes. I think when we're thinking about investments, oftentimes we're really thinking about infrastructure. And, you know, there's not enough thought really put into what it looks like to make sure that people have what they need to do the job, and thinking about it from an employment standpoint. So I'm really glad that this is written up so that we can begin to break the barriers or the monotony of thought around what it means to have real investment in homelessness. This is something that we're going to continue to have to follow because honestly, it is a system that is steeped in, you know, some kind of status quos, like they've always done it this way. That's what they're going to do. But it's time for us to rattle the cage a bit and really think about it in different ways. And when we talk about innovative approaches, really making sure that these employees are getting paid what their jobs are worth, getting paid what they are owed, really, because that is hard work. It's taxing. And you need to be able to retain people because honestly, it's a relational business. Oh, so when you're talking about somebody who's out there building relationships with folks on the street level, you don't want it to be a revolving door. You really want to be able to retain those folks. And, you know, shout out to everybody who is doing that work when it comes to things like mutual aid and being connected. That is hard work, and it definitely deserves more money than $40,000 or less a year.
Yeah, no, I think that in the article, people can read it in there. I think said this woman was living in like a 200 square foot or something like it's very small apartment in the U district.
Wow.
And you know, and out there serving our unhoused and homeless population. And so I mean that's something to think about when we talk about all these funds going places, and it really, you know, it costs everything. There's a cost. But man, we can't forget about the people who are really out there on the front line on this issue. So, we want to bring this back up. We put this slide in there yesterday about this COVID numbers, man, on the dashboard. It's coming out of King County Public Health. Says people who are not fully vaccinated are 49 times more likely to be hospitalized for COVID and 32 times more likely to die from a COVID-related illness. Those are people who are not fully vaccinated. These numbers coming out of Public Health, Seattle, King County. I've also got a link there for people who want to check out this dashboard. These numbers are wild.
No, the numbers really are wild. And even the measures around it are beginning to get more and more innovative. I think a lot of people were saying, what is it going to look like when we're talking about, being restrictive? When we think about spaces, we're seeing that come out more and more now where, clubs and other venues, sports arenas, all of them are saying either you need to show up with a negative COVID test or you need to show up with your vaccination card. And we're seeing that there's more and more strict measures that are being put in place because ultimately these numbers are telling the story of growing COVID concerns in our region. It is real. And even when we look at it nationally, I'm still thankful that we live right here in King County where the vaccine is readily available. It's free. It's accessible. Like we always say, folks can come to your home because really this is something that is beginning to affect so many people. And these new variants that come out make it difficult for people to kind of follow some of this stuff. But ultimately, these numbers really are telling a very specific story.
Yes, they are. They very much are. And speaking about COVID here, this is something that's real interesting that came across yesterday. And the thing is on the morning update show here, we've left a lot of space and grace for people who are vaccine hesitant. And really, we've been engaging in conversations with people who are vaccine hesitant. And, we want to always be able to have that conversation in a non-stigmatizing or polarizing way. And that's the whole reason of leaving space and grace is because we don't want to shame anybody. We don't want to, we want to be able to actually have a conversation. That being said, this is all going to make sense here in a second. I want to put up this photo right here from June 4th of last year. So this is a photo right here by Edgar Dillard, right there. You can see on the Instagram. And for people who are in the protest, this photo and photos that are similar to it. That was right there on the Western Barricade. And what we saw right there, go ahead and put that up one more time, Curtis. What we saw right there, we'll put it back up, is there you go. There's the umbrellas on one side there of Pine Street, and there's the Seattle Police Department backed up by the National Guard, or the State Guard, the National Guard, right there. And that was on June 4th. I remember that. It was my birthday.
Yeah.
Right. And that picture, and there's a few of them that they're just really iconic that catch that divide right there on Pine Street. It kind of summed up a lot, what I'm saying, about the protests and everything else. And I remember being out there, and especially the Western Barricade was really a time where you saw really a cross section of Seattle out there. That was the time I gave an example before how there was a nurse walking home from Swedish, and then he ended up getting like tear gas, and the next day there was 12 nurses from Swedish, right? That mix that was out there during the Western Barricade was, people who work up there at the hospitals on First Hill. You had a lot of, tech people. You had a lot of just regular people. You had people who was out of work from COVID. You had such a mix of people who were up there on the Western Barricade that really represented a cross section of people here in Seattle. And so anyways, moving that along, man, this is this group here. It's the Seattle Police United, not the Seattle Police Department, not SPOG, but Seattle Police United. You go ahead and put this up. And here it says, we must stand as one not to comply with the city's vaccination status mandate. Hold the line. And so basically, they've taken this picture here, and this is a website aimed at Seattle police officers, and it's telling them like, don't get vaccinated. Here's how you can get out of getting vaccinated and some of everything else, right? Now, back to my earlier comments, we talk to people all the time who are vaccine hesitant, all the time. You know, it's good, even on our show, it's a good part of our conversation is discussing with vaccine hesitant. So them being vaccine hesitant, it isn't really the issue here or where I'm going, or for whatever reason, right? It could be like, yeah, religious reasons, health reasons, you know, their rights or whatever. But these guys put that picture up there. Put this up one more time. These guys put this picture up there and then talk about hold the line, right? And I'm like, yo, just because you want to be hesitant, why you want to sit there now use these? And so the guy who took the photo I put under, he was like, nah, I didn't give you guys the right to use my photo. I don't want my photo used in that way. But it's like, guys just got to go and find an enemy. You see what I'm saying? Why not just be like, yeah, we're hesitant. We don't want to do this. Here's how we're going to get out of the vaccine. But someone over there was intentional in putting a divide here. Intentional in putting a divide. You get what I'm saying, Trey Holiday?
You know what? This is one of those things that if we didn't have the full context for it, we may be duped ourselves. The truth of the matter is that there's almost always, when you look at history, there's a way to twist and turn things to try to build the narrative that you want. And ultimately, there's a lot of harm that's caused in that. One of the things that we talked about here when it comes to COVID is misinformation. To utilize that photo as a way of now pushing this message is another form of misinformation that you're putting out there. That's not what it was used for. That's not why they were holding the line. To try to tell police officers that now you have all these avenues of not being vaccinated. Like you said, you could be having that in different direct conversations and communications. But to put it out there to the public now and utilize this photo as a means of building your narrative, it's really just wrong. Ultimately, it's all the way wrong, man.
These are the funny games that's played in the city, though. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if these guys want to have that conversation, why not? There's lots of people. There's so many people in the Black community who are hesitant, who are having these conversations in different communities and for all kinds of reasons. Some people, vaccine came too fast. Some people, I don't want government telling me what to do. Some people, it's like, man, historically, I don't trust the government. There's so many reasons why people are hesitant. But to be intentional, though, and you know what I'm saying, in antagonizing and everything else, I was there. And you know what that line was? That line consistently saw the most police violence that this city has probably ever seen, or at least seen in decades, was right there on that line. And let me tell you something else. They didn't hold that line. They actually folded that line, abandoned their precinct, abandoned the citizens that they were supposed to be protecting, and camped out at Volunteer Park. So to be honest with you, that's not really a good photo to use if you're talking about holding the line. You know, you deployed chemical weapons on peaceful protesters, on members of the media, and some of everything else. And this is what I'm saying. It's intentionality, and this is what people do in this city. You know, and again, I'm not opposed to these guys having their conversation, because like I said, we leave space and everything in our community. Yeah. Especially a lot of our elders are having that conversation. I don't want to really get vaccinated. I don't know how I'm gonna do this and that. This conversation's happening all over the city in different communities and everything else. It's just these guys who want to sit and always make it a wedge issue. And I just, man, you know, I try not to, because it always gets me riled up, feel some kind of way, or whatever about these things with protests or whatever, but I just couldn't let this one go.
No, this is a great one for you to actually raise, because again, you know, when we talk about understanding the actual story behind that photo and what transpired afterwards, as Omari said, you know, they didn't actually hold the line. And the ideas around how history gets twisted all the time. We talked about this with artists. You know, artistry is such a form of sharing the actual truth of history. You know, when that photographer there took that photo, he was making sure that he was cementing what was going on in time so that we could always go back to it and remember that time, not for it to be utilized in this way. And you're right, if that's what you want to do, nobody's saying that you can't have those kinds of discussions. But it is important to remember that there's real intention behind how that photo was taken, and you're not actually building that intention into the narrative that you're using or that you're trying to put out there when you use this photo. So, you know, that's the thing. I'm glad that you actually spoke to this, because you're right. We can't let this kind of stuff go, and really bringing the truth about is important in all of these kind of situations.
Right. And like I said, everybody's having these conversations.
Yeah.
It's just these guys who want to just be like, everybody's having a hesitancy conversation. If so many people like, man, how am I going to still work? And if they want me to get vaccinated, you're not the only people who are like, am I going to stay at my job? Am I going to leave my job? The only people who just putting these kind of photos in there. Like I said, man, that line wasn't held. You know what I'm saying? That line folded and abandoned. And some of everything else. Anyways, we gonna move forward. We're gonna take a quick break right now. We got a few more headlines, and then we're gonna get to Karlos Dillard. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Market Street Shoes, slinging kicks since 2006, with styles that support you and yours, getting the F outside or staying comfy when you just want to lounge indoors as well. But wait, Market Street Shoes is way more than just a shoe store. Gear up for your next outdoor adventure with apparel and accessories that'll have you looking good on the streets, the trail, or even in your own backyard. With locations in Ballard, Redmond, and online at marketstreetshoes.com, there's undoubtedly a style and size that'll fit your lifestyle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. So right now, Trey, I think it's time to support Black business. There it is. Nice new motion graphic brought to you by No Excuses. Make sure you can go to whereweconverge.com/shop, pick up some No Excuses stuff. We got a few segments in here today, and I went a bit long. I didn't go into full rant, but we went a little bit long here, so we're going to slide through this. This was actually something I caught on Channel 7 yesterday, and it's called the Black Doll Affair.
This doll was designed in 1980, first black doll to get the name Barbie.
Dana Hill's impressive collection of dolls comes with a philanthropic purpose.
Dolls are more than toys. They reflect who we are. Period. You know, kids, their first conversation about self is with a doll.
Hill started the Black Doll Affair in 2007 after seeing similar results from the 1940s doll test play out decades later, a psychological experiment where black children still identified the black doll as bad or least preferred.
You know, we see through the doll test how important it is. You know, that test it gave us an idea of where our children were in terms of their self-esteem.
Hill, also known as Mama Doll, invites women around the world to join the self-esteem movement.
I ask women, black women, white women, Asian women, women of all races, to become the black doll. And the black doll is just someone who doesn't have a voice, someone who isn't seen, someone who's not the most popular doll, someone that's not chosen.
To become a black doll, there are no membership fees. Just buy a doll tee and bring a doll to donate at official affairs. This is known as their Be a Doll, Give a Doll program. They've collectively given out more than 1 million black dolls, a mission to remind girls black is beautiful.
Love Hue. That's our trademark slogan. Love H-U-E. You've got to learn how to love the doll in the mirror.
An official partner of Barbie, Hill consults the company on inclusion. In 2020, Hill was selected to advise their designers, which then resulted in a conversation about race between black and white Barbie. Bringing this mission to the Pacific Northwest, Hill's plans to open a dollhouse in Tacoma have been put on hold due to the pandemic.
I just felt like this area really needed some support in terms of poverty and in terms of just the opportunity for diversity and reaching women and girls at where they're at.
Continuing her outreach online, Hill started Self-Esteem Saturdays to coincide with the start of the school year.
We teach our girls how to use their voices, how to feel empowered, because they're kept back because of how they look, because of the skin that they're in. But what we see is that kids want to fit in because they don't want to stand out. And what we want to teach kids is that stand out. And if you fit in, great. If you don't, form a new line.
Reporting in Tacoma, Tracy Leong, Karlos.
That's a beautiful story right there around the black dolls. And you know what? It's a great thing to be able to uplift, again, the work's being done right here in our region. You know, it takes people to find that void and to fill it. And that is what she's doing there with this black doll initiative. I love it, everything about it. I had no idea that it existed. So thank you for pulling that out. Oh, that was a great story. Very uplifting.
Yeah, no doubt. Came to us over there from Cairo 7.
Yeah.
So next up here, and we're sticking with WeBuyBlack.com this week. Got something here, light bulbs. Remember I told you I was gonna go with some stuff that's an easy buy. We got the link there in the comments. So We Buy Black. You can get you some light bulbs that are manufactured by some black folks. You know what I'm saying? That's the easy. Like yesterday was garbage bags, right?
Yeah.
So it's different if it's like I said, shea butter, clothing, this and that. Yo, you can buy some light bulbs for some black folks.
These are things that apply to all of us. You know, we all have needs in our households. And I love that we are uplifting these everyday needs because, Omari, you are right. You know, I'm a person that buys all the shea butters and oils and clothes and everything. But there are certain products that are really specific to like, hey, this is really supporting my melanin for me. But something like light bulbs, we all need them, man. Click on that link. Make sure you guys are supporting black businesses everywhere with your Monday needs in your home.
All right, this next one here is one we want to really elevate again. Can I get my support black business slide again? There we go. Support black business. And man, we're going to stay on this message here until September 20th. I'm talking about the rub. This is the Raising Up Black Businesses grant from Ezell's. You know, the link is there in the comment. The application is open until September 20th, and you see the new slide there got some chicken on it.
I see there. Yeah, nice and good chicken. I mean, this is a great initiative. Again, when we talk about what it means to, you know, be very specific and intentional about direct investments into black businesses, man, shout out to the whole Ezell's team for seeing this need and for stepping up to the plate. Shout out to DoorDash for partnering with them so that they could match the funds. This is really great because they're even still looking for more partners so they can benefit more businesses. And, you know, I know that our businesses here are definitely in need. This $2,500 can go a long way, oh.
Wow, man, good stuff. They said the light bulb is sold out.
Hey.
Look at it, guys. Getting up. I'm just saying, it's practical stuff. I think everything we're putting up here this week is like $10 or less, something else. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's support that. Let's do our part. A quick reminder here real quick, and then we're going to go to break, is that Welcome Back Weeks. We talked about this. We'll put that up again real quick. Is on the 10th there at the Paramount Borealis. It's the light display from 4 to 10 p.m. I know you said that you're going, so I guess that means I'm going too. So that means we'll both be going there at the Paramount. We're going to take a break right now. We've got Karlos Dillard coming up next. There it is. Author and speaker. We'll be talking about his book, Ward of the State. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't miss my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences.
Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
If you're trying to find something to do this summer, I got the perfect thing for you. Come on down to Seattle Waterfront's Pier 62 and enjoy free, yes, free, family-friendly events all summer long, like art, dance, music, storytelling. And if you're trying to get that body right before the summer is over, you might as well join their free yoga and fitness classes. Head on over to Waterfront Park Seattle for a full summer schedule of vibes you don't want to miss.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, and right now joined on the set by author, speaker, advocate, Karlos Dillard. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Mari. How are you?
I'm good. I can tell by that big smile. You know, like, welcome. You know,
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. I've been a huge fan of yours since before the protest, and I'm really proud of everything you've been doing for our community. And I'm just thrilled to be here. So thank you.
Well, man, we're thrilled to have you, and really also thrilled to be talking about something that's very important, and especially for our community. You know, people might not know, but like Black kids make up a disproportional amount of children who are in foster care in our state. And, you know, unfortunately, Black kids also make up all these leading indicators across the foster care system. And so I'm glad that you're here, and we're going to talk about some things. But first of all, tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Karlos Dillard. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I live here in Seattle. I've been here for the last 6 years. I'm a lived experience foster care advisor. So that just means that I advise people who want to be foster parents, who want to be adoptive parents, especially if they're thinking about doing that transracially. And then I also wrote a book, so that makes me a published author.
Yeah, got an author of it. That's what I'm talking. I mean, you know, I don't think people realize that it's like that leap. There's so many people who are like, man, I can write a book. Boom, it's the leap.
It's really just, like you said, everyone wants to write a book, but then it's really just the determination just to write it and get it done. Then also, I mean, I'll be honest with you. You guys were talking about the accessibility of things to Black people. It's not real accessible to have publishers reach out to you and want to pay you a forward or want to promote your book up front with you. I had to do everything out of pocket, just like most Black people do. We do it from the bottom and work our way up. So,
well, in that case, listen, we're gonna do some work for you today. First of all, let me get this on this camera right here. This is the book. It's called Ward of the State, and I'll let you tell everybody about it.
Yeah, so Ward of the State, a memoir of foster care, is my experience in foster care. I grew up in Michigan. I was in 37 different foster homes. Like you guys were saying earlier, like kids are just bounced around. And this book goes through each chapter of my experience in foster care. One thing that I always talk about when I'm doing speeches or talks on foster care is that it's not a monolith. So when you read this book, this is my lived experience. Someone else is going to have a lived experience in foster care that's completely different. So the best way for us as a community to educate ourselves on foster care is to get stories of many lived experience of many former foster youth as possible. That way we can have a better idea of what the system really looks like from the people who went through it.
All right. So what are some of the challenges, maybe even pre-COVID, but especially like during COVID and everything else? What are some of the challenges that are facing foster kids and also foster parents?
Well, right off the bat, even before COVID, we had a huge issue with the amount of children in foster care. A lot of people would think that people just can't take care of their kids. And when you look at it, foster care it's set up systemically, just like a lot of things and a lot of issues in our country. So we need to address systemic oppression, systemic racism. We need to address why can't parents get jobs? Why are people making less than $40,000 a year in a city that's the medium average income is $100 and something thousand a year? Those things all contribute to foster care. And then when we actually get into the actual system of foster care, people think that foster care is set up to save children, or they become foster parents because they want a family. And that's not what foster care is. I focus on 3 R's when I'm talking about foster care. The first one is reunification. Foster care, the most important thing in foster care is to reunify that child with their family. The second thing is to rehabilitate that family, whether it be financially rehabilitate them or medically rehabilitate them if they have some type of drug issue. And the third thing that you have to work on and look at is resources. As our community, we need to push resources, personal resources and community resources to organizations who support foster youth and former foster youth like myself. We need resources so we can go out there and push and make sure that people know the truth about foster care. So those are the 3 R's. And if we do that as a community, we can overhaul the whole system as a whole.
Right. And I know that one of the things that we had talked about last year was that there's so many children in the foster care system and not enough foster homes or foster parents, that children from Washington State were actually being sent out of state to this whole other, it wasn't quite a detention center, but wasn't quite like a place for children to prosper and grow either. And it was a big push on the head of DSHS and Governor Inslee. I think the push was like, bring our children home.
Mm-hmm. You would be surprised how many kids actually end up in juvenile. I was in juvenile for no reason of my own. I didn't break any laws. I didn't get in trouble. It was simply because they ran out of foster homes. In Seattle, in Washington State, we have about 10,000 kids who are currently in foster care. That's a lot of kids. Do we have 10,000 foster homes that are going to house each of those kids? Those are the numbers that you really have to look at. And we don't want our kids going to juvenile or going into these temporary placement places, which may not be a positive influence on their life, especially with people who are already going to struggle with a lot of problems just from being in the system.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's something that's really kind of overlooked, you know.
For sure.
The whole issue around foster care. Now, let me ask you this though. Just circling back around, when you said that a lot of times people they don't realize some of the ways that people are in foster care. Sometimes people assume people don't want their kids, or their kids are abandoned, or it's orphans or stuff like that. But there's all kinds of different routes where people actually end up in foster care. And maybe you can talk about some of those.
Yeah, a lot of people have the assumption that kids end up in foster care because their parents didn't want them or there was a drug issue. When in reality, the number one reason why kids are in foster care is neglect. And neglect can be literal neglect, or it could be something as small as poverty. And when you have a poverty issue, if a person's poor, if a mom can't take care of their kid, or can't make sure that their kid has adequate childcare, and then they leave them at home by themselves or with someone who's not so safe. That's what a majority of the kids end up in foster care. Not saying that all, but like I said earlier in our conversation, it's not a monolith. You can't really pinpoint on one thing or one reason why kids end up in foster care. And that's what we don't want to really focus on why they end up in foster care. We really want to focus on is how to get them back with their family. And if that's not possible, what's the best outcome for their situation?
Okay. What do you want people, you kind of touched on it earlier about it being your journey aboard of the state, but what do you want people to take away from your book after they read it?
What I want people to take away from this book is that, I guess my thing is the story of the boy the world forgot, but he survived. I want people to take away that after the kid turns 18, these are adults. These are still people with stories. We focus on the youth when we actually have hundreds of thousands of former foster adults like myself, who are out here, who are struggling, who have the answers to fix this system. When you read this book, I want you to go and I want you to wonder, who else has a story? I want to hear their story. I want to see what's different. When you read this book, I want you to understand that this little boy survived some of the harshest things that a human can survive. But that was just my story. There are over 400,000 yearly other books that should be written just like this. And that's really what I wanted to hit home when writing this book.
All right, so quickly, why don't you tell us, and you can look in that camera right
Okay, I don't know what camera.
So I want you to look in that camera right there. First of all, tell people what are some of the things the community can do to be able to support foster kids, foster parents, foster homes?
So foster youth are at the most at risk in our own community. So if you're here in Seattle, there are a lot of things that you can do. You can reach out to organizations like Treehouse. They have annual fundraisers. They have things that they can do like backpack drives. You can donate your time to them. You can also become a CASA worker. That's a court-appointed special advocate. That's pretty much a person who talks on behalf of a child. If you don't want to dedicate your time to become a full foster parent, you become a respite home where you're just like a weekend vacation spot where kids can get a break. There are tons of things that you can do to help foster children, especially in your community. But it just takes that step. Like right in the book, you have to take the first step. Everyone wants to help, but what are you actually going to do, and what actual actionable steps are you taking to make a difference for former and current foster youth in your communities?
All right, we're gonna let you stay right there in that camera, and we're gonna let you promote your book here. Tell people how they can get up with that and get up with you.
Yeah, so my book is called Water, the State of Memoir of Foster Care. You can purchase it wherever books are sold, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. It's on Kindle. The audio version will be out by Christmas. You can also grab a copy of it on my website at karlosdillard.com. If you buy it there, I've signed it for you. I leave you a little note, you get some extras. But yeah, it's everywhere where you can possibly get a book. I also want to do a little self-promotion. I just started a podcast where I interview other former foster youth called Wards of the State, and they get to tell their lived experience. So I think that was another way for me to kind of give my platform to other youth, so there's more stories so people can hear and not just my story.
All right, good stuff. Yeah. Karlos Dillard, author, advocate, speaker, and thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate it.
We're gonna stay up on this topic. You gonna come back and join us again?
Of course. As long as there's foster kids in the system, I'm gonna be speaking on it.
All right, good stuff. We're gonna take a quick break right now. When we come back, Trey Holiday rejoins the set. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Market Street Shoes, slinging kicks since 2006, with styles that support you and yours, getting the F outside or staying comfy when you just want to lounge indoors as well. But wait, Market Street Shoes is way more than just a shoe store. Gear up for your next outdoor adventure with apparel and accessories that'll have you looking good on the streets, the trail, or even in your own backyard. With locations in Ballard, Redmond, and online at marketstreetshoes.com, there's undoubtedly a style and size that'll fit your lifestyle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Man, Trey Holiday, it's Karlos Dillard.
Oh, so nice. It was really a great interview. And honestly, the insight from folks that have actually lived through it, there's nothing better than that. Oh.
Yeah, no, good stuff. We definitely want to be able to support Karlos and what he's doing. There's this show is getting it all together. There's big national stories. Actually, it's a few national stories. We only have time to get to one, so I'm gonna get to the one about Guinea tomorrow. So we'll skip over that. But the Taliban over in Afghanistan, they've now put their cabinet together, and we've got a clip right here from Reuters.
The Taliban announced its new government Tuesday, naming Mullah Hassan Akhund, an associate of the movement's late founder, Mullah Omar, as acting prime minister. Akhund was a foreign minister and then deputy prime minister during the Taliban's rule in the late 90s. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar will be deputy. Baradar was responsible for attacks on coalition forces, according to the UN, and served 8 years in prison in Pakistan. Later, he became one of the group's most prominent political leaders in the peace talks with the United States. The new interior minister will be Shirazuddin Haqqani, son of the founder of the Haqqani Network, which is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States. The Taliban have repeatedly sought to reassure Afghans and foreign countries that they will not return to the brutality of their last reign 2 decades ago, marked by punishments and the barring of women and girls from public life. But Tuesday's announcement that a group of established Taliban figures would be filling prominent governing roles did not appear to signal a brand new start. nor did the group's response to protests earlier in the day when Taliban gunmen fired into the air to scatter protesters in Kabul. As hundreds of men and women shouted slogans like, "Long live the resistance."
These people, the Taliban, are very unjust and they are not human at all. They do not give us the right to demonstrate. They're not Muslims but infidels. As you can see, the situation we are in.
So that's what's occurring over there in Afghanistan. I mean, the Taliban, as to be expected, put in their cabinet members. And, you know, one thing that you wouldn't have seen 20 years ago is people protesting in the street, and especially women out there protesting in the street. These guys in Afghanistan, you know, they're out there in the mix, and you see the Taliban sitting there cracking down on them and some everything else. All of this stuff was kind of to be expected as soon as the U.S. left Afghanistan. And no matter how much they sit there on the news, oh, we want to respect people's rights, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, it's the Taliban.
Well, you know, really, again, you know, we understand their approach because they've been showing us for decades. They've been showing us and showing us. And this is not anything that is new to us because we've been seeing this reign of terror. And you know what? Shout out to all of those women who are taking to the streets, who are protesting against this, who are standing up for the resistance of this, because they're saying loud and clear, you know, what they're telling, you know, the public is not actually happening. And we need those that insight. We need those stories from those who are actually dealing with it for us to understand what's going on there. This is something that's really important to us here. And a lot of times, you know, folks think, oh, that's happening over there. It has no bearing on us. But all of these things really do, because when we think about ourselves as a global force in the world, ultimately the ways that these kind of atrocities are playing out in other places really affect us, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely. Here in Afghanistan, there's still Americans that are on the ground there in Afghanistan that they're trying to get out of the country. One group is saying that the Taliban is not allowing them to leave. The Biden administration is like, no, they can leave, but you know, we'll see. We'll see if they get on the plane. We're gonna kick our other global story to tomorrow. We're gonna take a quick break right now. We got one more segment for you here on the Morning Update Show. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. As we near the top of the hour, you know, Trey Holiday, your good buddy, Cynthia Brothers from Vanishing Seattle, was on King 5 yesterday talking about Vanishing Seattle, their work, and also talking about the impacts of gentrification here in the city. It was a nice interview. We got a few minutes of it right here. This is Cynthia Brothers on King 5 yesterday.
Last week, rumors that North Seattle's favorite greasy spoon, Beth's Cafe, was closing upset a lot of people. It's gone for good. Who knows right now? But what we do know is that Beth's is temporarily closing for an unknown amount of time. This is a post from Instagram account Vanishing Seattle, which tracks many of the cultural changes that are happening in our city. Now, I got a chance to talk with the Vanishing Seattle founder, Cynthia Brothers, about why she started this project.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this. I actually am from Los Angeles, where we will sell any bit of history for a good strip mall. It's a shame because you start to see so much of the culture, of the spirit of a city being lost. And this is why we're so excited to talk to you about Vanishing Seattle. Will you tell us what it is and how it came to be?
Sure. So Vanishing Seattle is a media project, mostly on social media, but we also did a film series recently that documents the disappearing and the displaced spaces of Seattle. So small businesses, local landmarks, homes. But on the flip side, also celebrates the places that give the city its soul. Yeah. And I started it in early 2016.
And we've lost a lot just since then with so much of the city changing. I mean, just the Pink Elephant car wash downtown is one thing I can think of that just broke my heart. What are some of the other things that we've lost recently?
Well, it's interesting that just in the past couple weeks, the other pink elephant in Soto, which is the first, yeah, the very first pink elephant and the only remaining one in Seattle, that closed quite suddenly. So as of now, there's no pink elephant car washes in Seattle. But I mean, even just in the past, year and a half and during the pandemic, there's been just a lot of losses, a lot of, longtime local legacy businesses. A couple months ago, Alberto's and Borrachini's on Rainier in the area that was known as Garlic Gulch. Longtime Italian-American businesses closed down. There's Hardwick's Hardware, Busch Garden, Bop Street Records, Randy's Restaurant, Reckless Video. I could go on.
I mean, I can't, half of these places, I can't believe I hadn't even heard this. It's unreal. But you mentioned that they may reopen. Have any of these places disappeared but come back?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, still a lot of hope and potential. Like there's a lot of places that have definitely expressed a determination to come back, especially like a lot of the music venues that have closed recently. Tim's Tavern, Rebar, Our Place, the old Crocodile closed, but is moving down the street. But there's several places that we've already seen come back or are going to reopen soon. Some of them are going to be in the same location. Some in new locations are under new ownership. So again, Busch Garden is going to be coming back in a couple years. Right. Cafe Racer is going to reopen in Capitol Hill. The College Inn Pub, another historic institution in the U District, has already reopened. Pacific Galleries in Soto. So yeah, I mean, there are folks who are really putting any effort they can to save these places by bringing them back. And I'm grateful for it because I think people are going to need places to gather, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, it reminds me of 13 Coins too, which is a personal favorite of mine. When they were closing their their South Lake Union location. I mean, literally, I was about to chain myself to the door. Yeah, because I love that place for its style, and they did try to keep some of the booths. The big chairs, as you go in. If you've never been to 13 Coins, you're missing out because I love that place. But they tried to keep some of that nostalgia, but you cannot help but lose the original soul of the place. I mean, do you have any thoughts about this and how gentrification kind of plays into it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that spaces do hold energy and that they're more than just brick and mortar structures, that they are spaces for people to gather and connect and build and make memories. And that's really important. So yeah, sometimes you will see a space that moves and opens in a new location, just like not quite the same, especially if it's like a totally different structure. Maybe it's some of the new places can perhaps feel a bit sterile or sanitized. They don't have those decades and layers of grime and things. Grime. Yeah. And gentrification, I think, plays a huge part in it because a lot of places and people, especially with, the growth of big tech and corporations and all the money that's been coming in and the rising inaffordability, is really just displaced tenants who can't remain who can't, keep a foothold in the city. And so I think there's like a loss on an individual level and also on a community level because, I think as a city, we're all poorer for it when these places that are significant to us and otherwise are, successful spaces are pushed out just because they can't afford to exist here anymore.
Wow. Shout out to my girl, Cindy, bro. We love you so much. And it's really amazing what you have done with the platform of Vanishing Seattle, really educating so many of us right here in Seattle and beyond around how this gentrification and how this changing of our city affects so many of us. And I'm so glad that New Day Northwest understood the value of the work that you're doing at Vanishing Seattle to bring you on and also share that story. And you told it so eloquently. There's spaces that are closing and there's spaces that are fighting to stay open. And it really is, so encouraging when we see the community engagement be a part of that struggle. So thank you so much for all of your work. I'm so proud of you. That's my girl.
Yeah, no, good stuff, Cynthia. And Converge, we made 4 short films with Vanishing Seattle with Cynthia Brothers and with Martin part of our Community Voices Vanishing Seattle series. So it's really good to see Cynthia Vanishing Seattle stays out on top of it. And you know, one of the other things, we're gonna have to bring Cynthia on. So if you're watching Cynthia, just know you're gonna get an invitation, because we also need to talk to Cynthia about not vanishing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's not vanishing, and people have persevered and things like that. We need to figure out how we can support those businesses. It's the top of the hour, Trey Holiday. Time to get out of here.
Yeah.
Any last words before we bounce?
Oh, for me, I just love that we ended on such a great note, as we saw with our guest, Karlos, Dillard, and also with our good friend, Cynthia Brothers over at Vanishing Seattle. Man, folks are seeing themselves as a part of the solution, stepping into that void through their own lived experience and being able to share that with the masses, man. Find a way to see yourself as a part of the solution and be inspired by those two folks that I just mentioned, because clearly their stories are shining bright, and yours can too. Step on in.
All right, good stuff. What's today? Today's Wednesday.
It is, yeah.
So, Seattle News, Views, and Brews, they're on vacation on a well-deserved break. So, there's nothing today. We got Clapback tomorrow, Curtis. Clapback Culture tomorrow with Mike Davis and Julia Jesse. Mike Davis will be here in the studio. I think that's about it for today. Definitely want to thank our guest, Karlos Dillard. You know, a very insightful, great book, Board of the State.
Yeah.
You know, we'll continue the discussion there. I think that's it for us today, folks. So on that note, I want to remind you to go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Peace.
Lift every voice and sing, Dillard in heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.